All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And as part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Website Development, or AWD1100 Programming Fundamentals with C# course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the PowerPoint slides for the textbook we're using for the course. That textbook being Muroc C# 7th edition that you can see on your screen right now. So far, I have gone through and done all the chapters for Section 1, all the chapters for Section 2. In Section 3, I did the even number chapters and skipped 13 and 15. I've lectured on Chapter 17, how to work with file I/O, and now it's time to come in and actually write a couple programs. So I'm going to do that right now. And let's see. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to make a new folder, and actually I'm going to have this whole chapter 17 and 18, so I'm going to call this CH17-18 programs right there. Programs. There we go. And then I'm going to start up Visual Studio. And the first couple that I make here, at least, are going to be they're going to be console applications. So I want to go to console.app.net framework, and I'm going to call this file ex1, file example 1, and they will be in the folder that will be called CH1718 programs. Okay. In fact, let's call this CH17 file example 1. I like that better. And the solution will be CH17-18 PGMs. Okay, so create. There we go. Now, this won't be a very long program, and it won't be fantastic or anything like that, but it's meant to start showing you some of the stuff that we want to work with. All right, so we've got this. The first thing I want to do is I want to come in here, and I don't know if this will work or not, but I want to right mouse click on my project. I want to add, and I want to add an existing item, and let's see. I've got this file that's called instructors.txt that looks like this. All right. There are 6 instructors who work. Now that I look at that, it's in formation. All right. I've got 6 instructors here that work on the work in the IT department at Rankin Technical College. So save my changes. I want to bring in that instructors file, and I want to add it. All right, so I'm adding it right here. Okay, and I put it up here because I want to be able to share that with all the programs that I'm about to write. All right, so there it is. You can see it. Nothing fantastic at all about the file. But let's go in and start actually writing the code. Okay. So when we start to come in here and use programs that have files, we're going to need to add a using statement in here, and that'll be system.io. And IO is for input output, which are, for files. I am going to use the collections generic and the link because I'm going to make some lists. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make a path to that file. Again, I don't need the file open, but I do need this path here. And it is actually pointing to the desktop, which is okay. All right. So I'm going to come in here, and the first thing I'm going to say is string file path equals, now I'm going to put an @ sign at the beginning, and what that's going to allow me to do is to put the whole path in there like this and not have to worry about these backslashes. In other words, it's turning off the special meaning of those backslashes. All right, so I'll just put a comment here that says create path to input file. Now you'll notice right now I'm getting it's green, and that's just because I've defined that, but I'm not using it. All right, so this will be create list of Rankin instructors. All right, so list string, I'll just call it what it is, which is instructors. And that's going to be equal to a new list of strings. All right, so that's what we're going to use to hold that. So that's create a list of Rankin instructors. Okay. Now, what we want to do next is read all lines from instructors.txt file into the instructors list. Okay, how do I do that? I come in and say instructors equals file dot, and you'll notice there is a read all lines. And notice what it needs to do this. It needs the file path. Well, we've already set that. Now it's giving me an error. So let's look at the error here. And it says, opens a text file, cannot explicitly convert a string to a list. So I want to be able to read this, but it's reading it as a string, and I want to convert it to a list. Fortunately, there's a dot to list. All right. Now, I want to be able to come in and print out the current list of instructors. So I'll put that into a for each loop, string, let's call it I for instructor, in instructors, and then I'll come in and I'll say console.writeLine I. And after each one, let's pretty it up a little bit. So we will put in here \n, just so it reads a little nicely. Now, if we run this right now, which is what I'm going to do in just a second, but it's going to scroll right off the screen. So right at the bottom here, I'll need a console.readline so that it stops and waits for me to go on. So I've come in here, I've created a path to my input file. All right, and again, you know what the input file is. It's this file right here. All right. I created a list of Rankin instructors, which is a list of strings, and I'm telling it to read all the lines from this file into that instructor list and then print them out. Well, let's see what we get. So file, save all, and let's run it. All right, and there they are. There's everybody who was in there. Now, again, I put a blank line between each one. We didn't have to do that, but it just made for a little bit easier reading. So it's first name, comma, space, last name, comma, space, department for all of these. Okay? All right. Let's do just a little bit more in here. What if you want to add a new instructor? Now, one thing I'm not doing right now, we'll look at it in just a moment, is we're not accounting for what if the user puts nothing in there. That could screw things up. All right, but since they're all strings, they're only going to go in as the empty string. So I'm going to say prompt user to add new instructor. Console.write. Please enter instructor first name. right, so we're just asking them to enter the first name. Now, we don't have a variable to hold that, so we'll make string first name equal console.readline. So that'll hold that. All right. So then let's do it again and ask them to enter the last name. And finally, let's do it one more time and ask them to enter the department name. All right. Now, if this worked, we should have, we have to add it, but once we add it, we should have another instructor in here. So let's look. So I'm going to say here, instructors, let's see, prompt user to add new instructor, first name, prompt to enter new instructor, last name, and prompt to add new instructor, department. Okay? Sorry. Now, add the new instructor, instructor, to the instructor list. So instructors dot add, and we'll have to add what? The first name plus, and let's try to pretty it up a little, and let's put this over multiple lines so you can read all of it. The last name plus hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. Didn't realize I had my phone on. So this will be plus the department. All right, so that should add all of that information, okay, there. Now, the problem though is, all right, we have to do this again. So we have to say file dot write all lines, file path, and instructors. Because what that's going to do is that's going to add that. So again, that will add it to the instructor list. Okay, this will write it out, for lack of better words. So write out to file. And finally, we'll have a console.writeline, which says, if this worked, we have a new instructor. All right, so let's see if indeed that worked. And how do we know that? Well, we do another for each loop, exactly like we did before. So for each string I in instructors, console.writeline, the instructor, plus, and again, we'll put in here a blank line. All right. And I'll tell you what we'll do to try to make this a little easier to understand. Once we go in and we go in here to add the new instructor, all right, so once we prompt to add the new instructor information that's here, let's come in here and do this. Let's do a read line right here. And after we hit enter, we'll do a console.clear, just to make it real obvious what we're trying to do here. And this has to be console.readline. Okay, so let's run this. So I'm going to make it nice and big. So again, I printed out the 6 names that are in there. You've already seen this. Now I'm going to hit enter. And it says, please enter instructor first name. Now we can enter a new instructor. So let's add the old infamous John Doe. So John Doe, and John works in the diesel department. If this worked, we now have a new instructor. Well, doesn't look right, does it? Doesn't to me. So let's take a look at what we have here. It doesn't show me an error, but let's see. Something has got to be wrong in here, so we'll fix it. So let me look at, it looked fine until we got to right here. So console.write, please enter instructor first name. That got in there. Please enter instructor last name. That looked okay. Please enter instructor department. That looked okay. Then we wanted to do an instructor dot add first name space last name space department. That all looks okay. Console.writeline. File.write all lines. File path instructors. That looks good. All right. So console.writeline, if this worked, we have a new instructor for each. Oh, that shouldn't be this. That should be I. I think that was the error, but let's check. All right. So again, we've got our original 6 instructors. Well, it did work before. There's John Doe Diesel. So let me remove John from Diesel. Let's see if indeed it also added John into this file here. There it is. John Doe Diesel. All right. So I now have the file looking back the way that it did before. Okay. All right. Let me close that. Run the program again. Yes, I do want to save it. And let's run it. So I've got my original 6 instructors. I've told it to print these out. Now when I hit enter, what should happen here, once I hit enter, what should happen here is the screen should clear and it should prompt me to enter another instructor. So please enter instructor first name, Mary, last name, Johnson, and the department, let's just say accounting. Now, once I hit enter, it should show me those original 6 names plus Mary Johnson in accounting. And there she is. So we've got our original 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the new one we just added. I hit enter. The program ends. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I'm not worried about it. All right. So now if I go back and I look at my file, there's Mary Johnson accounting. So the first example that we tried right here at least appears to have worked. All right. And nothing wrong with that example. Worked just fine. Let's do one that's a little bit, I'm not going to say harder, but when I come back, because I'm already about 20 minutes in here, so when I do come back, I'm going to do a second one. It'll also be a console app, all right? And what this one will do is we'll create a class called person that's got a person's first name, last name, and department in it. But it'll still be a console app. So let me do rather a file, save all. I'm going to close this for now. And I'm going to close this. All right. And this. And I am going to right mouse click on here. And I'm going to add a new project. And I'm going to call this, it'll be another console app. We're going to call this CH17 file EX2. All right. And that should create a new one in here. And there it is. And I created the wrong one. I didn't want to create that kind. So let me get rid of that. Try that again. Solution, add, new project. I want to make sure I choose the console app.NET framework, and I did not do that. So this will be CH17 file EX2. It says it cannot create it because it already exists, because I did create one and it created some of the internal stuff. I'm going to say OK here. I'm going to call this 2B because I don't have one called 2B. And there it is. All right, I will come back and create this second example in just a moment.